joined by Massimo Costetti, a key figure in San Francisco Italian community, with roots in Modena and a career on business development and product management. Massimo now serves as a president of the Comites of San Francisco, connecting Italy and US. Welcome to Crave, Massimo. Ciao, come stai?
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
Doing great, thank you. Recovering from an intense week. Excited to have some rest.
Uh-huh. So, Massimo, with family roots in both Italy and Hungary, how have these cultures shaped who you are today?
Thank you, thank you. This is a very interesting question for me. My double roots come from the fact that my mom is Hungarian and my dad is Italian. So I was born in Italy, but ever since I was a little baby, we spent a lot of time back and forth between Italy and Hungary. So basically, I did all my schools in Italy, but in June, as soon as the school was over, we would take off and go to Hungary and spend the whole summer there until September, basically when the school was starting again in Italy, or sometimes we even stayed a little bit longer. So I would be late, like 1 week or 10 days to the beginning of the school in Italy. So that to me was an intense, I would say, an intense way of being raised with pros and cons. The negative side of it being that it was honestly traumatic. I would say, especially when I was a child and when I was a teenager, to be fully immersed with kids and my friends in the summer, especially when you're always around doing fun stuff. I was doing this with my friends in Hungary, so we would go for fun bike rides and play all day, and that was my life for 3 months. So we weren't just visiting there, but we were effectively living there. And then all of a sudden, that's over, and we go back to a different country. And when I get there,
Wow.
who are these people? And these people are, who are you? Where have you been for these 3 months when we were here socializing and doing our stuff here? So the first week, I remember when I was back in one place or the other, was always a lot of hard adapting to the language and to the people and to whatever I see around me, which was not always easy. It usually took me, like some days or like a week to overcome this. And in both places, I was obviously feeling like Italian in Italy and Hungarian in Hungary, but also I was seen as the Italian guy when I was in Hungary and the Hungarian guy when I was in Italy, right? So I was always living in this dual state of mind, which for me was the normal way of being, because that was just how it's always been, and I didn't know any other way. But I'm obviously very grateful that I had that possibility,
Yes.
that type of experience, because later in my adult life, I realized how that gave me, first of all, I guess, my interest for continuing living this international life. So I always pursued more opportunities to go study abroad, which was brought me to Paris first and then to UC Berkeley in 2012. And I think having been used to that cultural shift since a young age kind of prepared me to this thing that I've done later in my life.
The language, you speak 3 languages, right?
Actually, 4. Yeah, so I picked up Italian and Hungarian as my mother languages. So my mom used to speak to me in Hungarian and obviously Italian when I was in Italy. And then I learned French.
What a gift.
I'm really glad that I had that possibility, and I became really passionate about languages. So I really like learning new languages. I picked them up really quickly. Like I never studied Spanish, for instance, but when we visit a Spanish-speaking country, I really love trying to speak it, with like just making it up, and most times it works. And it's really a fun thing for me. To answer your question, that's what I think I got mostly. Yeah.
It's great. And Massimo has a very important, figure in San Francisco. He does
Yeah.
so much for the Italian community. He's a president of the Comites. The next question is, I know you're just back. Hold on. The next question is, Massimo, coming back from the consular coordination meeting in Washington, D.C., how has the experience shaped your vision for the Comites?
So the meeting that you're referring to is an annual meeting where all of the presidents of the comites gather at the embassy in Washington, D.C., together with the consuls and the directors of the Italian Cultural Institute and the ambassador and the elected representatives of the parliament. And it's basically a state of the union, a state of the Italian union abroad, I would say. Um, I'm quite proud always of coming out of that meeting with representative committees that is very virtuous in all of the activities that we're able to do, which is largely due to, first of all, a good team that we have within the committees, but also great collaboration that we have with the Consulate of San Francisco. Which is not always the case in other committees, which have a much more conflictual relationship, I would say. The thing that keeps coming out every year at that meeting is that Italians abroad, the community keeps growing exponentially. So in the San Francisco Consular District, last year we surpassed 30,000 registered in IRES, so 30,000 citizens who have actually gone through the process of registering at the consulate, which means there's actually probably maybe even double that, because one of the big issues that we have is that not everyone goes through the process, which is a little bit of a burdening process, especially when you are from some cities in Italy, which take a very long time to complete the registration. But it is a very important process for everyone who stays here for more than 6 months to go through the registration at IRA. First of all, to access all of the services that the consulate can provide. So every time you need to renew your passport or renew your driver's license or any other sort of service, administrative service, the consulate will do that to you if you are registered. So you better do it when it's not urgent, so that when you need to do something, you don't also have to go through the whole process and you have it ready. But also the consulate gets resources from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs based on how many citizens we have registered here. So if only half of the citizens are registered, we would only get half of the resources that we need, right? So that's always the main issue that the consulate has, and that the Comites also has. Very scarce resources, which keep getting more and more scarce. Unfortunately, last year, the government even cut in half the financement, the contribution that they give to Comites, right, for our activities.
Oh, the fund.
The funding, yes, that's the word. Thank you. Good news that came out of this meeting is that there's a new regulation that the parliament just passed, by which the consulate will be able to retain some of the fees that citizens pay for their services. So when you have to renew your passport, you would pay a fee. And all of that used to go to Rome, and then Rome redistributed it across all of the consulates in the world. Now, however, some of that is going to stay locally at the consulate. So that's going to be rewarding the consulates that do more, that process more passports, and that process more documents for citizens. They're going to also be able to retain more money, and therefore hire more personnel and buy new machinery, and be more efficient, essentially. So that's a good news that came out of this.
And also, Massimo, we have such an amazing Consul Italia. Shout out to Sergio Strozzi.
Absolutely.
Because he's fantastic, right? He does so much for the community. And with your collaboration, it's going even higher.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Thank you,
yes, yes,
Massimo.
I agree. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, as a president of Comites, what are your main goals for supporting the Italian community in the Bay Area?
There's two parts actually in that question: as president of Comites and as a member, as an elected member of Comites, right? Because I was elected by my constituents here in the Bay Area mostly. Um, I'm saying in the Bay Area mostly because also we represent all of the citizens from all of the Northwestern United States. So also Oregon, Washington State,
Yeah.
Utah, Montana, Hawaii, basically all of the Pacific Northwest. But these states that I mentioned are where we have most of the community. And then after I was elected, then the members of Comites also elected me to be president, which is sort of an internal role. As I was elected as president with my intention being giving all of the members of Comites a chance to transform their good energy and their good ideas into good initiatives for our community, which is not always easy because we are a pretty sizable group. There are 16 of us, and we have very strong, opinionated personalities, which,
I hear about that. There is a little challenge.
of
I
course,
heard about that, Massimo.
like in every group, like in every especially Italian
In every
group,
group.
yes, in every passion group, it's a very passion group. So there's a lot of energy and limited resources.
That's why we are so lucky to have you.
No, my goal is to
No, it's because you can balance. You can balance. We need somebody like you. Balance, prepare. He's very prepared. He's balance the group. Because can you imagine everybody?
It'd be crazy.
It's so crazy. Sorry.
No, absolutely, you're right. That is exactly
So,
my goal as a president, to have a balanced assembly. So where also those who are more conservative in their behavior, let's say, also have a chance, not in their political views, but in their personal behavior, have still a chance to express what they want to do and to contribute and to have their voice heard. As an elected member of Comites, my priority has always been around the newcomers. So the goal of Comites is also to connect the different parts that make up our community. So we have a community that is second generation or immigrants, but we also have lots and lots and more people who have been here for a few months or a few years, especially professionals. And we want to connect these two communities, which is one community, which often doesn't really feel connected. And for that, last year, we launched a mentorship program, which is called Italians by Career, Italiani di Carriera, which does exactly that. So we are connecting professionals who have been here for a few months or maybe for a few years, or who self-identify as mentees, let's say, where they have something to learn from our mentors who are Italians who have been here for maybe a decade or 2 decades and who have something to teach, to share, and to guide newcomers. So I had this idea thinking about myself 12 years ago when I first came here, and I really gained a lot by connecting with other Italians who had been here for a longer time than me and who were really willing to share and willing to help me and willing to give an opportunity. And in fact, I started to work first for an Italian company that I got into through an Italian connection. So I wanted to give this same opportunity to all of the Italians who are just recently coming here and who are lost. Like, what do I do? But not only just professionally, but also how do I look for a house? How do I set up my health insurance? How do I bring my kids to school? How does all of that work? And it's good to hear it from somebody who is from your same country, who speaks your language, and who has done that same thing successfully a few years ago. So for all the listeners who might be interested in this, look it up on the Comites website. This is just one of the many, many initiatives that we do. We do lots of cultural initiatives. We do lots of webinars where we are hosting a webinar about financial literacy, where we're giving advice about how financial instruments work in the US, especially for those who don't have familiarity with this, right? It's an extremely complex financial system in this country. And we did webinars about taxation, the pension system. So I invite everyone to follow our website and our social media pages in particular, where you can see all of these initiatives that we keep doing more and more. So you can find us on Instagram, Comites SF, Facebook, Comites San Francisco, LinkedIn, Twitter, and our website, which is sfcomites.org.
So you've mentored through the Italian Trade Agency and Innovit. So what excites you most about guiding new Italian innovators?
Yes, I've mentored through Innovit and Italian Trade Agency, and that's also what I've done professionally in my first job, which was an incubator of Italian startups in the US, where we helped Italian companies with great products come and sell those products in the US. And what really excites me is how good we are as Italians at making great products. It's always very fascinating to see the passion that we put and the pride that we put into what we build. We are really great builders, I think. I see actually that we are great builders. And what's really exciting about having these builders with greatly built product come to the US is the immense opportunity that opens up in this immense market, which is a completely different scale than often what these companies have seen in Italy and in Europe. Completely different scale, and also completely different mentality, in the sense that in Italy, Italian entrepreneurs are often very much, sometimes too much, in love with their product. And in the US, what really helps them unlock the next stage of growth is building a story that connects that product to this immense market that we have, and developing not only the product, but developing their company as a product itself. So this is especially true with startups, where really we don't really have in Italy this mentality of building a company as if it was a product that will eventually be sold, right? So we have more of traditionally a mentality of a company that makes a product, and then you sell the product, and then you pass on the company, right? But the startup mentality is still something that is very much to be spread out in the Italian entrepreneurial system. So that's when I'm able to transmit that idea, that way of approaching work, that way of scaling your business, that really unlocks huge potential. And so that's very motivating for me to do.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. Where do you see the Italian community here heading, and how do you hope to help? Especially after you're back from, the big meeting in Washington, D.C.
Yeah. I definitely see it heading to being much larger and larger, like exponentially larger, which is, I think, even problematic from a certain standpoint to have so many talented people leaving our country. But it's definitely good to see lots of talented people coming here. What I would like to see is continuing to connect as a community. So whereas in the historical past, Italian communities were really, really tightly knit because the conditions were much harsher. So you had to stick together if you wanted to survive, essentially. Now it's not like that anymore. So it's not something that you really need for your professional development. You can do very well without knowing any other Italian. However, I still think that there is a lot of value to be gained by connecting with our with our nationals. And so I'm hoping that we become more and more connected also as a community, like And also in the West Coast, there is less of a cohesive community than in other parts of the United States. Like in the East Coast, in Canada even, there's a much
Right.
more tight-knit community, which is also helpful in the
Yeah.
way the community is able to make their way in the parliament, for instance, where our interests are represented, right? And so we have lots of things that we can influence in the way we're treated as Italian residents abroad. And if we stick together, if we care about who we elect, if we elect people who we know and who we trust, then the results will show, and our services will be better, and there will be better opportunities for us also to stay connected to Italy, to essentially have our interests represented better for whatever those interests are.
Yeah, and also we can grow because at Crave we really believe about connecting to our roots, our heritage, and our culture, because it's so important. You really, as a community, you can grow together, even if you can do things by yourself, but still, in one point there is a need of your people, where you're coming from. It's almost like recharging yourself, to go to a next level. So we believe strong on this, Massimo, here. Thank you so
No,
much.
absolutely. And there's a lot of willingness also to give back. Like I said, we are a spectacular community with very, very successful people who are really eager to have opportunities to give back, to connect, to share. So there is a lot of willingness to share, and I'm hoping that there will be also more willingness
Yeah.
to take some of this.
I heard that you and your wife, that was awesome. You and your wife launched the Gnocco Bella Pop-up. I love it. How did that come up about? And what does community involvement mean to you?
Yes, gnocco fritto, important, il gnocco fritto in Italian, even though all the people from
Uh-huh.
Modena are used to use the correct article. But yeah, gnocco fritto, for those who don't know, it's
Allora non è Gnocco Bello, non è Gnocco Bella.
so Gnocco Bella is the brand that we created for these pop-ups, and Gnocco Bella makes gnocco fritto, right? But yes, Gnocco Bella is
How did you come up with that? Especially with your wife, how beautiful. You guys have a little special.
well, exactly. My wife is
Um,
Bella, so it's a
there you
fitting brand. So it's
go.
a fitting brand, right? My wife is bellissima.
Right.
But yeah, no. So like I was saying, gnocco fritto. I grew up in Modena, so gnocco fritto for me means party. It means community. Like every time I gathered with my friends since when I was a kid, or every time you go out and every time there's a party, it's gnocco fritto. So
Uh-huh.
that's the essence of what you have around the big
Fantastic.
table: gnocco fritto, lambrusco, and prosciutto and parmigiano. That's what we do. Um,
Buon appetito, adesso abbiamo
yeah,
fame.
it's almost lunchtime. That's right. No, the fact is that I love making it for people.
Yeah.
So every time I had somebody over at the house who hasn't tried it, I want to make gnocco fritto. And when we moved here to Oakland, we discovered that our neighbor is a head chef of a restaurant here in Oakland. So we had her over for dinner. I made her
Mhm.
gnocco fritto, and she said, "Wow, this is amazing. Never had something like this. You should come to the restaurant and make it for our customers." And that's how the pop-up actually idea was born. Yeah.
Okay. And I
Wow.
heard your event is sold out. I heard
Oh
you
yeah.
made over 300. No, right?
So yes, over 300 across the different events, but the first one that we did was slightly over
Wow.
200. But yes, we sold out about
Okay.
2 hours into the event. Yeah, which was such a fun day, one of the most fun days of my life. But essentially, it's a bread dough. It's a bread dough with some fat added into it, and then it gets thinly
Okay.
layered and cut into squares, pieces, or rectangles, and then deep fried for a few seconds. And when it
Mm.
hits the oil, it starts becoming like a bubble, so it puffs up because of the contact with
Mm.
the hot heat, right? And so it stays soft and then you make little sandwiches with it, essentially, with prosciutto. We serve it with prosciutto, mortadella, stracchino, arugula, so you make your own. Or Nutella also, there's also the dessert version,
La
Wow.
Nutella.
of course.
It sounds amazing, so I can't
Yeah.
imagine how delicious it is.
This is why it's sold out.
Yes.
Each time
Oh,
he has an event, I heard it's sold out. I
I'm
next
not
time
surprised.
we are going to be there, by the way. So you're doing so many things. It's unbelievable, Massimo. You're really like a key of the Italian American, Italian in the San Francisco. So at Crave, we love exploring passions, right? With everything you are juggling, what another passion that excites and motivates you on the side to make a gnocco?
That's my biggest passion. That's where my mind is all the
There
time.
you go.
Yeah, no.
Perfect.
I started,
Tell me more about that.
so I just finished my third season racing with Dolce Vita cycling team, which is a local amateur bike racing team.
Wow.
And it's an obsession that an addiction that I started getting addicted with about relatively late, about like 5, 6 years ago. Um, Mostly because it is seriously, I think, one of the best places in the world here to ride a bicycle, with the weather, with the beautiful roads.
Yeah.
It's seriously spectacular, and that is so I go out. It's a very time-consuming hobby, I would say. So on weekends, I usually go out on Saturdays for like 5, 6 hour bike rides. And when I'm training in
Wow.
season, it takes me like 8 to 10 hours a week, sometimes even more, between training at home and going out on these bike rides. But that's the time that really I use. That's my time with myself. So
Beautiful.
that's when I'm on my own. I process thoughts. I get new ideas, and I just deconnect from any. When you're out on the road, and especially when you're racing, you have no time to think about anything else, but just not dying, essentially.
Mm.
You don't have time to look at your phone and to think about anyone else. And I find it extremely cleansing mentally. Besides physically, of course, there's the whole endorphin and just like feeling amazing with your body. And it's especially the whole racing scene is highly addictive. Like it's a beautiful community, also amazing people who share a very strong passion, which, like I said, very time consuming. So I'm also very thankful that my wife allows me to spend all this time doing it. But
Right.
it's
That's love. That's true love when somebody let you do it where you want to do it, and you know, balance yourself, ground yourself. So that's a balance also marriage.
yes, yes, I believe so. Yeah.
It's very good, and it's a great addiction. It's very healthy. Exercise, you are in shape.
You know,
Mind, body, and spirit. You got
Yes.
it all.
tell that to my mom because she's always so angry because it's an extremely dangerous sport. So
Yeah.
crashes are part of the game. I broke my wrist this year in May, not my wrist, my elbow. So yeah, it is healthy, but it's as long as you don't crash.
Massimo, it was so beautiful to share your work, your passion, and everything you're doing in the Bay Area and for the Italian community. Thank you so much. Grazie mille.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's always a pleasure for me to connect,
And we can wait to have you again on Crave.
of
Yes.
course.
You have to come back.
Yeah, yeah. Stay tuned. Massimo, grazie.
Grazie.